You spoke with us off air. You asked me and Rach if we were willing to go to a story that's maybe a little bit harder to hear and maybe letting our listeners sort of know about this, but also making sure that we present the truth of the situation so that people can kind of understand what Orphans Aid does.
Yeah, I haven't actually, I've been on Rima and on Sanctuary today, and obviously we did the morning wake up this morning. I haven't shared this story because it's pretty grim. And it's not, I don't know. But it is just the reality of these people's lives a lot of the time. And so we talk about the food, the daily meal, the feeding programs provide being almost this insulation barrier at the bottom of the bottom to separate people from the lowest level of poverty, which is, where it becomes really dangerous and these people are really, really vulnerable, right? So if you're starving, literally starving, and you got kids or you will do anything to feed them eventually, or to feed yourself, because it becomes dire, really, really bad. So you're like, I have to eat. What can I do? And when you don't have skills and you don't have job opportunities or money or anything like that, you just have to resort to whatever's on offer. And, for women, a lot of the time, it's prostitution, and it's horrible. The existence is terrible. But many women who have children, that is the only option, and they're forced to go and do that to try and provide food for their kids. So it's like if we can feed their family for them, they don't have to resort to that anymore. The other thing is that kids often get sent out to beg, and they do that by themselves, or they go out in groups, but they're extremely vulnerable for trafficking and things like that. There's a lot of horrible stuff that goes on in these parts of the world, and you don't want to have kids doing that. Or if the parents are going away, maybe they find some opportunity to work for some tiny amount of money, but they have to leave the kids. Maybe the oldest one looks after the youngest, but they're still, really, it's really dangerous. There was one woman at one of the feeding programs, and the guy there, Dagansa, he runs the program in India. He was telling her story to us, and it's really horrible. So if you're not up for it, come back in a couple of minutes. But basically, she has a couple of children, and she had a really young child, maybe a couple of months old, which she was unable to breastfeed because she's not getting enough food herself. So your milk dries up, right? So she can't breastfeed the baby, and she's begging at a train station. She left her other kids with someone else for the day while she tries to anyone can help her out. And somebody came and saw her, a couple, and, said, oh, you've got this young baby, and she's like, I can't breastfeed it. Do you have any money? Can you help me? And they were like, we'll buy you milk powder. We can try and help you out. And so she left the baby with the woman, and she went off with the man, and he took her to a store to buy the milk. And I don't know if that ever ended up happening, whether he did or not, or he just took off. But when she realized that none of this was right, she went back to where she'd left the baby with the other woman, and that woman was gone. And they just took her child. And that was like about a month. That had happened about a month before we got there. And, they had the police involved and all of that, but they're never seeing the child again, and they know that. There's no, they don't even have a photo of the baby, because no one has any equipment like that. You don't have phones, and that's her reality. She lost her child because she's trying to find food, and there's people that prey upon the vulnerable when they're desperate. And so, something like providing a meal, it seems so small and such a tiny little thing, $2, what could it do? What's a meal, for someone in that situation? But if it's the difference between them having to resort to that kind of stuff where they're so vulnerable and people take advantage of it, it's life-saving, in that sense. And so, man, when she was there and she was just in tears, and this is a month later, obviously she's lost her kid. It just really brought home to me the importance of what was happening. It's so much bigger than just the food, that's being given out.